can't hear us, hear me and see the slides. If you're here seeing my picture, but you're not hearing my voice, that would be ideal. But we did check the sound earlier, and I think everything was okay. Let me introduce myself. I'm Chris Pastor. I'm the director of the Master of Liberal Arts program. I'm joined by Brittany Robertson, who is an LPS recruiter and currently working on her doctorate in higher education. So she's a great resource. She knows a lot about all of our programs. And what we're going to be doing is, while going through some of the information that I have on the slides, which I'm sharing with everyone, that I hope you can all see, Brittany will also be paying attention to what's coming in the chat. So if you have a question, feel free to type it in now. It might be something Brittany will answer right away. She'll post a link, hit it out to everyone. You'll see the link and you can grab it if it's for a web page that's valuable. But they also might be questions that I might answer to everybody as we go through once we get to the Q&A. I'm going to keep you guys all muted until we get to the Q&A after I go through these slides. And that way we can have a discussion and make sure we can answer all of your questions. So welcome to Penn School of Arts and Sciences, Division of Liberal Professional Studies, and the Master of Liberal Arts. As I said, I'm Chris Pastor. I'm a PhD in the history of art. I primarily work on the Italian Renaissance, largely on viticulture in the Veneto in the 16th century, which I found was kind of fun. I teach art history here at the university, and I've been the program director here for about 12 years. I started at LPS around 13 years ago, but I've been at Penn for 26 years. Brittany's been at LPS for 4 years now, I think, and joined us in our admissions office and moved into working with recruiting. She's really good at answering a lot of the questions you might have about nuts and bolts, logistics, program design, things like that. But I'm also a really good resource if you want to ask questions too about curriculum, what kind of things you can study, and all that sort of stuff. So what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of background about how the MLA fits into the university and then what sort of things go on here. The MLA, Master of Liberal Arts, is a program that's about 25 years old. I think the first folks entered the program in 92 and 93. We have nearly 800 graduates, or about 110 current students. It's a great program that's nested into the School of Arts and Sciences as a way for you to effectively create your own major program, like you might do it in a liberal arts undergraduate school, but at the graduate level, where you develop your own concentration, you come up with your own capstone topic, you sort of tell us what you want to study and find the courses that fit and build that unique concentration. Unlike most other MA programs or MS programs where people tell you, you have to take these 12 courses and off you go with a degree that's really narrow and defined. So it's a 9-course unit program. Penn uses course units, or CUs as we call them, instead of credits. That's the equivalent normally to a 4-credit course in the Carnegie system. You take 9 of these. Normally that's 8 seminars, and the 9th course unit is when you write your final written capstone paper. You can do this full-time, part-time, on campus. We also have 4 or 5 online courses each term now at the graduate level through the MLA, and there are some others on campus. Some people are starting to mix that online and do low residency because they can't get to campus every term. It's a unique program in the sense that it's interdisciplinary. We, as I said, allow you to develop your own concentration within the liberal arts. You can't take more than 4 courses in any one department, so you can't kind of create a shadow English MA in the LPS program. In the MLA, what you do is you might take 4 English courses, some literature, some writing, and maybe take some anthropology courses and sociology courses on cultural communication, and sort of build a sort of a media studies program of your own. And that's something that you do to find on your interests, what you've studied before, what new things you want to add that are complementary to that, or build on what you did as undergrad, and then think about the outcomes you want. Where are you trying to go next? As you take courses, you also think about this in the liberal arts sense, where you learn different approaches to problem solving, critical thinking, the power skills of communication, writing and written and oral and presentations. You also then come at your concentration and your topic from more than one discipline in terms of the methods that are used across the liberal arts. And that gives you a lot of different ways to come to build your research agenda and answer that question in your capstone. So you're really in control of the whole program, and we kind of help you navigate things in terms of logistics and academic advisement. But you're really the sort of driver, and I'm kind of your backseat driver. So I kind of tell you, oh, I think you should stay a little bit more to the left on here because there's a turn coming up. but I don't tell you the route you're going to take. You map that out, and now I'm sort of your sounding board and say, yeah, that sounds like a good way to go. So some people ask, why would anybody do an MLA, right? Why not just do an MA in English or an MBA in finance? Well, in a lot of cases, those sort of degrees are not for everybody because they have a narrow bandwidth of topic, but also they sort of fit certain professional tracks and certain interests. The MLA is a little bit more flexible and dynamic, and that's really reflected in the kind of students we have, self-motivated adult learners who oftentimes work full-time and take courses part-time and are trying to think about where they want to go next in life, and they're kind of creating a new trajectory. That can be a personal or a career orientation. It could be something that's really helping you develop skills that are going to help you professionally, or something that might help you in a career move, moving laterally, diagonally in a new direction. It's great to do instead of just taking classes because you create your own focused course of study, and that's kind of good because you can tell other people that you sort of built this degree yourself, and that shows sort of, again, intellectual dynamism. It shows that you have the ability to plan and develop a course of action, an academic program, and then commit to that and finish it at the end. So that kind of focus is really something that means a lot to people on the back end when it's on your resume or in an application letter. It's a great opportunity for you to network, to get on campus, to get in classrooms or get in virtual classrooms with faculty here at Penn, some of the human capital here that is really our best resource in terms of faculty and instructors, and then other peers. Now, by peers, I mean people interested in these kinds of subjects. You're not all going to be the same age. You're not all going to be from the same background. This is an extraordinarily diverse population. 30 to 40% of our students are from different ethnicities. We have about 15% of our students are international at any given term. Students of varying ranges with an older median of around 32, half and half men and women. So it's a really good option for you to explore a lot of different things. It's also a great program because unlike many masters that are out there, we let you pick and choose the speed and pace at which you create and run your program and let you do something part-time here at Penn. And this is great. It's an Ivy League program that's really rigorous, really challenging, but we don't tell you you need to do 3 courses every term and be done in 1 year. There's no lockstep full-time only model. It really lets you do something that fits your lifestyle. It's also great because, again, a lot of people just take classes, get credentials for different kinds of things, the new concept of badging and certificates. But the Master in Liberal Arts is a really great professional credential with that concept that many higher level jobs are now asking for graduate degrees. So this is the kind of thing you can do something you create that fits your needs, respond to your interests from an academic point of view, but still gives you that master's degree that you might need for certain kinds of jobs. This is like the first university in the US, right? People debate the age, but we're really one of the oldest universities that was designed for everybody to study. It wasn't for the elite. It wasn't associated or originally developed as a seminary. And it's a huge, powerful institution with over 25,000 students, something in the order of 18,000 staff, several thousand faculty. We're sort of the biggest single entity outside the city government of Philadelphia in terms of the number of people working and operating an institution in the city of Philadelphia. It's also a place that has 13 schools, School of Arts and Sciences, and 12 professional schools, and then it has a wealth of library resources, academic support, all the kind of things that a powerful R1 research institution at the Ivy League makes available to our students, and they're all here for you when you pursue the MLA, which is a really great experience. The excellent faculty here in the School of Arts and Sciences and the other schools also connect teaching and research. So what you're doing is then when you're in the classroom with a faculty member, you're really on the cutting edge. You're helping them grow their discipline because they're either bringing new research into the classroom or what you're doing in the seminar is helping them push a new research agenda, a new project in a new direction. So you're on the cutting edge at graduate school. You're not just getting received wisdom. It's not the same course that people have been taking for 20 years. It's not Econ 101 and the professor's mailing it in. This is really where new information, new material gets developed at a place like Penn. And in graduate classrooms, you're really helping move that agenda, academic agenda forward. The MLA allows you to really explore because we force you to do that. We make you do it and create an interdisciplinary program, as I said. It's great to do it here because SAS is a really rich and broad and deep environment. 26 academic departments, over 22, 23 interdisciplinary programs like urban studies and cinema and media studies as well that offer graduate courses across the liberal arts. The faculty is world renowned. They're outstanding teachers, but as I said, they're also great scholars and researchers. So they model that kind of research behavior and approach to building an academic agenda and creating an academic program that will help you get where you want to go. We offer some concentrations that you create for yourself that are self-defined, but also there are a variety of certificates you can pursue that can really help you create a unique focus and also make sure that your MLA helps you think about where you're going to go next, so it has some relevance for your professional life afterwards. It also lets you take a sense of developing your own curriculum, creating sort of a strategic approach to your coursework, and then create an independent piece of academic research or writing at the end. And again, these are really great kind of goal-oriented things that I think help you move forward in life as you do and after you finish a Master of Liberal Arts degree. It's a unique program because each concentration is unique, and each capstone that's developed for a student's concentration is their own personal project. So you might look, these are some of the concentrations that people did in the 2018 year, and you'll see there's a range of different kinds of subjects: global poverty, film and media production, cultural communication, writing, literature, and gender, interdisciplinary studies in food and culture. These are all like wide-ranging kinds of things that don't fit in one department, don't fit in one MA, but the MLA allows you to build your better mousetrap, really to find the classes that help you learn what you want to know, what you want to take away from the degree. When you do this, you build this concentration, you figure out what courses help you create that academic experience, and then you finish it up with a written capstone, final interdisciplinary paper, somewhat similar to a master's thesis, but different in the sense that we expect you to sort of approach your topic from more than one academic discipline. So you put a lot of different lenses on that research question and come up with all different kinds of interesting ways to solve that problem, or at least push out new answers and new ideas about that problem. I'll tell you a little bit about a couple of folks who did capstones in the past year and a half to give you some idea how this works. Brad Richards did a great capstone that he called Culture for Sale. It was Thomas Eakins' Gross Clinic, and he was really interested in the dramatic happenstance several years back when Jefferson University realized that it had a tremendous financial asset on its hands, hanging in one of its buildings, Eakins' painting of the Gross Clinic. And TJU decided that they were a medical school, and this painting, which was worth upwards of $60 million in their first estimate, might be better turned into money they could use to finance the expansion and construction of a new medical facility. Now, City of Philadelphia, TJU alumni, including one of my friends who was a doctor that went to medical school there, were a little bit nonplussed when they suddenly announced out of left field that they were selling this painting to New Crystal Bridges Museum, which was being opened by Alice Walton out in, I think that's in Crystal Bridges is in Arkansas, I think, but middle of nowhere. And so the city and most of the art community in the area was upset about this. And there was a very interesting exercise on the part of the city of Philadelphia to find matching funds to match what was ultimately a $95 million purchase price that Alice Walton had ponied up for this painting to keep it in Philadelphia. Because there was a very interesting move of this painting as it increased and became a commodity, right, as much art has become due to the art market, right, an asset, it also had a lot of cultural importance for the city of Philadelphia. Eakins was born in Philadelphia. Eakins studied in Philadelphia. Eakins painted Philadelphia, and Eakins was tied into things like the rise of modern medicine that happened in Philadelphia during his lifetime. He studied anatomy so that he could paint better portraits, and this was all part of that package. So the city of Philadelphia, its movers and shakers, its government, and its art institutions figured out how to find $95 million, and the Philadelphia Museum of Art and the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts bought the painting together and have an agreement to rotate it and have it on display in each museum at different times as a centerpiece of parts of their collection of American art. And what was interesting is Brad was originally a business person. Now he's in academic administration. And he was really interested in the intersection of cultural heritage, of art history, and this interesting enterprise in applied economics that talks about what is a commodity and why is something become a commodity. And that's what he wrote his paper about. So it wasn't an art history paper. It wasn't a paper that was good for an MBA. He already has an MBA. So he wanted the MLA for more fun, let's say. But it was a way of looking at all these different parts of this experience, this moment in time, and why so many people got involved, why this was such an intense, fraught moment where a piece of the legacy, the architectural legacy of Philadelphia was going to be ripped out of it and moved somewhere else. And to do this capstone, he had to take a lot of different courses. He took courses in public performance art in the global age. He took a course on cultural heritage and conflict that talked about what happens when civil wars happen in places like Afghanistan and Buddhas get blown up. He talked about, he took a course called Fake, which was about when is something real and what does it mean to viewers. And he worked all this in with some of his courses in economics and heritage to come up with this really interesting exercise in exploring art as a visual and aesthetic object, but also art as a commodity and where those things intersected. Another student, Yitian Sun, who came to us from Beijing, did a really interesting paper on public diplomacy in the era of social media. And she started looking really closely at microblogs and how the US Embassy was using them to communicate with individuals across the globe, but primarily in China, to figure out how social media was changing the way an outward-facing enterprise that's part of the government dealt with the international audience. She explored communication channels the State Department started using and how social media became a really core way of getting information out to an audience so that it wouldn't always be filtered through the lens of, let's say, another government like the Chinese government. To do this, she took courses in a global studies concentration she created on screenwriting, language and society in China, globalization and its historical significance, and systems and design thinking. And then she worked for a while after she did her capstone as an intern at the Penn Museum and has moved forward into a career in museums and marketing because she sort of created this very interesting skill set and understood an increasing amount of content and then did this sort of white paper on how do institutions communicate with their audience and sort of created a new professional path for herself. Laura Grieco did another really fascinating paper. Laura was a great student to advise because every term she came in, she did one course a term over 3 years. She came in and we basically went back and forth as to whether she would take a course that her head told her to take or a course that her heart told her to take. And they varied between courses that she thought were relevant to her. She worked in an admissions office at a university that were important for understanding higher ed and understanding the higher ed audience, right? And then she was really also interested in creative writing, literature, culture, and sort of cultural anthropology. So she took basically in her 9-course unit program, 4 courses that were on that sort of higher ed, business and communication side, and 4 courses on that side of understanding the cultural realm and how she sort of, and people fit into that. And it was really fun. So what she did is then pull together this cultural communication society concentration where she took courses in media, communication, culture, and society. She took creative writing courses like writing and remembering, a memoir workshop. She took a course on community power. She took courses on urban ethnography and urban education. So you can see where she was coming from, these 2 things. And how she finally brought them together was realizing that she got really excited about the increasing power of the memoir that was becoming an important part of, quite frankly, the top 10 list in the New York Times nonfiction every month, and how that kind of idea might help her better understand her own family history. Because she had always recognized that one of the core things that helped her understand what her family was all about was how they revolved around food and recipes that were her grandmother's. So she created sort of a memoir recipe book that talked a lot about, as I said, this idea of how do you communicate ideas to yourself, to your family, and to other people in society, And one of the ways she sees that a lot of Americans kind of talk to one another is through sharing and enjoying recipes that they associate with their family, with their country or ethnicity of origin, and where they live now, what part of the region they live in. So it's really kind of fun. As you can see, it was called Eating the Family Tree, and she basically did genealogy through food, and thought really hard about how this was going to, make her unpack things that were important to her, but also make her think about how do you explain that to other people who don't have that inside knowledge. So it's kind of a really great exercise in figuring out and growing some communication skills. Now, this capstone, as I said, head and heart were half of this program. It was a little more on the heart side of things because I said to her, what are your takeaways? What are you trying to do? Why are you doing MLA? Why have you been doing this all along? To learn things useful for her job, to learn things useful for her in understanding herself, right? They were the two key things, but also to finish this degree, to be proud of what she wrote, and then to turn the page and figure out where she's going next professionally. So we unpacked this and determined that this was a better takeaway than a white paper on higher ed and let's say strategies for increasing applications from first-generation low-income students, which was something Penn was really interested in. Those were a couple of ideas she had, but really ultimately it was this passion project that worked for her. And this is something that says a lot about why the MLA is a great opportunity, because you're not going to be locked into doing a paper that feels like it checks a box for the people who design your program and the industry that they're in, meaning higher ed or finance, right? Instead, it's a degree that you create yourself. So therefore, you're the person that has to figure out which boxes you want to ultimately check off. Something that often makes people understand a little bit more about what's going on in MLA is thinking about the kind of classes we offer. We have an evening roster of face-to-face and online courses in the fall, spring, and summer term, usually anywhere between 15 and 18 classes. They all run 5 o'clock or after for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And this is really important for our part-time audience, people that are working full-time and they come after work, whether they come to campus or they arrive at Penn virtually and do an online class. Now, that being said, you can take your courses across the entire university, but the lion's share have to be in the School of Arts and Sciences. LPS, our home division, is a College of Liberal Professional Studies, is a division in the School of Arts and Sciences. Of your 9 course units, no more than 2 can be outside SAS, but there's no requirement that all of them are on the MLA roster. So MLA students tend to take a couple of courses on the MLA roster, usually a large number of courses from other graduate course offerings offered by Grad Arts and Sciences, School of Arts and Sciences departments and graduate groups, and then usually 1 or 2 courses from the other schools. When we did a 5-year slice a couple years back, 50% of all MLA students took at least 1 school outside the School of Arts and Sciences, meaning a Wharton class or an Annenberg School class or something at Graduate School of Education. And 50% of all the classes taken by that group of MLA students that they did the degree were taken off of our roster, right, somewhere else. So students go all over, and we encourage that because that allows you to have a lot more doors to open and poke your head into and explore. But we do try to have a kind of nice roster that offers courses in humanities, social sciences, that really allow you to sort of sink your teeth in different things from art history to anthropology, from cinema and media studies to communications. So a couple of courses coming up this spring are Anthro 619, Kathleen Hall's Cultural Diversity and Global Connections. She's a faculty member in anthropology and education. And this is a really exciting course that talks a lot about how do people work in this big but interconnected world. Gary Purpura is developing a new online course for us called Brain, Mind, and World that's really going to look at what's changing with developments in cognitive neuroscience, computer science, machine learning, and how that impacts on understanding of really what is a brain and how does that brain function in the larger context. Antonio Ferros, who's a history professor here, is developing a new course called Wars and Post-Wars, which will look at a lot of different things from, let's say, the early modern period forward to the present day, and not just talk about the history of how war happens, but also what happens after that. After conflict ends, what sort of things happen globally or locally in the aftershock period. After you do an MLA, there's a lot of different things that become open for you. Graduates have gone on to do PhDs, teach at universities and become academics. We've got students at Santa Barbara, Penn, Temple, had a student admitted to Cambridge, another couple of students going on to Berkeley. So there's a lot of different places. And then other folks have gone on to professional programs, gotten their JD, gotten MBAs, had a couple of folks do this on their way to medical school because they wanted to learn sort of public health and put that in the larger context, that sort of thing. A lot of folks advance the career they're already in when they come part-time while they're working full-time because of the confidence and the knowledge and the skills they grow in the MLA really become an important part of giving them an opportunity to move up the ladder where they're working. A lot of alums also tell us that it's really enforce their commitment to lifelong learning, to personal growth, to personal enrichment, so that, this is kind of a good way to spend some of your time and money outside of what you do in the rest of your life, whether it's work, family, and other things. But it really is something that makes you, as one student said once, kind of a better version of yourself after you do the program. For admissions to the program, it's a pretty straightforward online process through CollegeNet. You can go to the LPS website, follow a couple links, and you're in the set up a portfolio and you're in the application process pretty swiftly. We ask for several essays that talk a little bit about what you'd like to study here, why you think the MLA makes sense for you. I should say that that's not a contract, though. Many people come in and explore, experiment, take courses in 3 different areas, and then narrow their focus once they've done a little experimentation. And if that ultimately is not what you said you wanted to do in your essay, that's okay by me, because I think serendipity, growth, and change are a really valuable part of a liberal arts course experience. We ask for 2 academic or professional letters of reference. A resume tells us kind of what you've been doing that's outside the classroom academic environment. We need transcripts of all the post-secondary institutions you attended, an application fee, and we kind of review rolling. So if you're thinking of applying now, you can apply to start in January. To do that, you need to be in by November 1st. But we also admit for summer and fall term, but you can apply now for fall term because fall is open in 2019. You don't have to wait. And if we get a complete application in the next month, we may review and admit you before the end of this year, even though we're also reviewing and admitting people for this coming spring term. Most of that information is going to be on the website as well. The deadlines, as I said, are November 1st for spring, April 1st for summer, and July 1st for fall. If you're an international student, sometimes it's better to apply much earlier because then you can get an earlier decision. We can get all the things we need, including a West evaluation and a transcript in a timely fashion. And then you have plenty of time to get organized, line up your finances, and make sure that you get the right visa. For 2018-2019, our tuition and fees are $5,162 per course. We charge per course. We don't have like a full-time tuition or a part-time tuition per term. It's by the class. So if you come and you take 1 class a term, it's $5,000 a term, basically. If you want to come full-time and take 3 courses and do this over maybe 3 terms, it would be about $15,000 a term for tuition and fees. And then you have to calculate room and board where you might live and get housing in the area. But we don't have, like many schools do, a full-time tuition where you pay $50,000 and you're here for the term, whether you take 3 courses or 6 courses. We're not built that way. We still charge per class. Financial aid is available in the form of subsidized loans for U.S. citizens who are taking 2 course units or more in a term. There are no fellowships or other kinds of scholarships for the MLA, but there are students who have applied for outside funding and gotten scholarships, Fulbright money, other things of that sort, Keck grants, and things that you can apply for, quite frankly, by Googling liberal arts scholarships or funding for graduate study in the U.S., and then just start chasing that down. I think we're to the point where I kind of gone through the boilerplate, the basic outline of what the MLA is all about. So I'd be really happy to answer questions if you have them. So maybe what we could do is take you off of mute. You can ask questions, and then myself or Brittany can try and help you out and answer them. There are also a couple of questions that came in the chat, and I can answer them as we're getting going. So if you guys want to, let's see, unmute. So Amna and Nicole, feel free to answer any questions if you want. I know, Amna, you asked about positive psychology. The positive psychology graduate program is a closed program. It's an executive model. They only have class meetings, I think, 4 times each term on weekends. And those courses are not open to anybody who's not in the Master's Applied Positive Psychology program. There are some positive psychology programs offered at the undergraduate level. There's no reason you couldn't take them, but they wouldn't count as part of your MLA program because they wouldn't be high enough level to count towards your 9 course units. They all have to be graduate level, which for us is 4 level and higher. But if you're interested in positive psychology, you certainly could reach out to some of the members of the Positive Psychology Center and explore other kinds of psychology courses that they might recommend, or maybe investigate an opportunity to do an independent study with someone. That could certainly be something you might explore. I see Nicole said she doesn't have any questions, so that's good. I guess that means we either told you what you wanted to hear, or you've seen the stuff on the website and you've gotten a lot of good information. So I hope that's great. But if anything comes up, just chase us down. You can call the front desk and ask for a phone appointment with me. I'm happy to talk to students about what they want to do. You can also just email in LPS and they will bounce things along my way. Amna says you emailed admissions offices and got 2 different answers. If you're applying to MLA Spring, you still apply to other programs for next fall. I'm not sure. Does CollegeNet let you do more than 1 application in the system at a time? I believe it might for 2 separate terms.
Yeah, it does.
So I think you probably could do that. But I don't think you know until you try it, Amna.
Yeah, you should be able to, in CollegeNet, be able to apply for more than 1. You have to finish 1 application before you can start the next one, though. But once you submit, you can start another application usually. Okay, so what it probably means is you need to get your MLA program going, hit submit. Now, we may not have your transcripts, we may not have your WES evaluation or your reference letters yet, but that still would not stop you from submitting. And once you've submitted, that should allow you to go back in, select another term and another program and apply. So if you were thinking about being considered and or pursuing 2 different programs, you should be able to do that. But we can follow up and double check on that. So what you might want to do is email me. I'm going to type my email address in here, and that will jog my memory to ask admissions and ask our CollegeNet guru to tell us what you're allowed to do. Okay? And any other questions? If you're like, hey, could I take these classes? Or what does this program of study sound like to you? Or has anybody done something like this? I'm happy to sort of engage with you by email, and then we could follow up with a phone call if that helps. Do you want to ask your question, Amna? You're asking if your area interest will be suitable for the MLA. I think email me and let me know. And I can tell you, as I said, this is a create your own major program. We've had people explore everything from cross-cultural communication in sort of a creative writing sense, to political economy in sub-Saharan Africa, to water sustainability and in African-American cities. There's a huge range of topics that people have done, creating their own unique concentrations, and sometimes nesting them under something more generic like global studies, let's say, or writing and literature. There's a lot of different ways that people have created catchphrases that might signal something to a reader of their resume or their transcript, but at the same time allow them to do something that just fits their particular needs. And I'm happy to hear about what you want to study and then say, oh yeah, I think you could do that. You could, because what I could do is maybe then suggest to you departments that might have classes that would make sense for you if you're pursuing that area. So like if someone's interested in, let's say, public health, Penn has a Master's of Public Health program. But if you did an MLA, you might be able to take a class or 2 in public health. You might take a class or 2 in history and sociology of science department. You might take a couple courses in anthropology and look at things like traditional medicines. You might take courses on, from the history department or the political science department or philosophy department about there's a topics in global justice course. Is healthcare a right or is it a privilege, right? You could ask those kinds of questions and do something like that in this program, which could be a lot of fun. So I'd be happy to help you flesh that out, and you could tell me what you're trying to study, and then we could try and see what kind of classes are here. I oftentimes explain this to people that graduate school is really about you making every class you walk into your own. So just because a course is on the history of the portrait, right, in our history course, I'm not a historian, right, it doesn't mean that you can't be really interested in topics that have to do with political economy, right? Just say that's what you want to do. What you could do is you explore the way that portraitures changed over time to describe different characteristics of personal power, right? And then how that plays a role in developing the amount of control someone has over the space that they occupy in the world of politics, right? You can, and then you write a paper about some aspect that pulls that course where you want it to go. So you can almost be parachuted literally into any class as a graduate student, and as a really successful graduate student, you can make that course go where you want it to go based on the research that you put into it, especially when we're talking about a graduate level liberal arts seminar. I see you're saying that you have a lot of different interests. They don't fit under one umbrella. Well, this could be the place for you because we're sort of a big tent, right, as opposed to an umbrella. Or you could imagine that we're a place where we let you dash between different rooms. You don't even need an umbrella at all. You just run between the drops, as my dad used to say, and go from one department to the next. And the path that you map out ultimately is your own curriculum. So we can have a lot of fun trying to figure out if this is going to work for you. If you guys think that's all good, do you want to let us know just by typing in the chat? And then, as I said, you have my email address now. You know how to get in touch with LPS. You can always call and ask for Brittany, and we can try and figure out how to help you determine if the MLA makes sense for you. Okay, well, thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Amna. Really great to spend half an hour talking to you about this, and I look forward to catching up with you soon. Drop me an email sooner rather than later. We'll try and figure out how to line stuff up and see if this is a program that helps you get where you want to go. Thanks, Brittany. All right, bye, everybody.